With the recommendation, what happens is it should become and should be very apparent by the time you get to the recommendation, because that's what your analysis, that's what, when you've dealt with your alternatives, you're talking about. And so it's about detailing the decision. It's about all of the details when you get to the recommendation, adding those, and you can add a lot more of those details when you start to look at the implementation part of it. So what's done and what is to come is really a way to wrap up your analysis. So the analysis results in the alternative, which becomes the recommendation. And when you start to reinforce that recommendation, you do that by adding additional detail. What additional support does it need? Build the detail in terms of the implementation plan, build the financial details. So really, the recommendation quite often is a short piece that just reiterates, this is what we've decided. And then that moves into the implementation plan and the financial plan that you present. You may have to deal, as you go through, some additional support. But the big things, the big questions that audience or your judges are really going to ask for is, how much is the solution going to cost? Is there value for money? Is it feasible? If it's affordable? And it does not hinder the organization's operations as they currently stand. Remember, it must be affordable, well, significant enough to solve the problem or other outstanding issues. Not, and you don't want to underprice it. Make sure it scales to your audience. So you're spending enough, it's making enough that it has interest by whoever you've positioned your case to. And remember, as you're doing the costs, there's two types of costs: one-time costs and ongoing costs. So remember to show both of them. This is a one-time cost at the beginning of the project. This is what it's going to cost us going down the road. Don't forget both of those pieces. And I think the other piece in terms of the recommendation is how much details are needed in the financials. And again, talk about this much more in the financial slides. But really, what you want to do is you want to show the cost, you want to show the profitability, you want to show those key numbers. You may require things like pro forma statements, but consider what goes into the presentation itself, what goes into the exhibits. Don't put too much on one slide. Condense those statements and show only the significant amounts, and try to group the expenses together in logical groupings. You don't want to present a ton of numbers, because people will then start not paying attention to what you're talking about and start to look at the numbers, right? And also, it's a really good rule to use the expected, the best and worst case scenarios for comparison purposes. So people know that this is what's expected, but it could be this good, could turn out this way. And when you get to your risks and mitigations, you can talk about how you can get closer to the expected, avoid the worst, and also have some mitigations in terms of, you know what, this might be more successful than expected, and that could lead to its own problems. How do you solve those problems potentially from occurring?